The forest was completely silent. A man stood frozen on a narrow trail, staring at one of the most breathtaking creatures he had ever seen. The animal lifted its head slowly and locked eyes with him. The look felt almost offended, almost proud, as if the creature was saying, "How dare you stare at me, human?" The man smiled softly and whispered back, "Because you're stunning." For a few seconds, time seemed to stop. Two completely different beings, one human, one wild, stood face to face, sharing a quiet moment neither of them expected. If you love powerful animal stories and unforgettable moments from the wild, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Because what happened next turned a simple morning walk into a memory that would last a lifetime. A morning that started like any other. Daniel loved mornings in the forest. While most people preferred sleeping late on weekends, Daniel had a different routine. He would wake up before sunrise, grab his camera, and drive to the nearby nature reserve just outside the city. He wasn't a professional photographer. He worked a normal office job during the week. But nature had always been his escape. There was something peaceful about the forest in the early morning hours. The air felt fresh, the world felt slower, and the sounds of birds and rustling leaves replaced the noise of traffic and busy streets. That morning, Daniel expected nothing unusual. He simply hoped to capture a few photos of birds or maybe a fox if he was lucky. He had no idea that this quiet walk would turn into one of the most unforgettable encounters of his life. The moment everything changed. As Daniel walked deeper along the forest trail, something suddenly caught his attention. Up ahead, through the trees, a large shape moved slowly in the early sunlight. At first, he thought it might just be a shadow. But then the shape stepped fully into the open clearing. Daniel froze instantly. Standing just a short distance away was an enormous wild deer. And not just any deer. This one was magnificent. Its body was strong and graceful, and its antlers stretched wide like the branches of a tree. The early morning light reflected off its fur, giving it a golden glow that made the entire scene feel almost unreal. Daniel had seen deer before, but never this close, and never one this impressive. The eye contact. The deer noticed him immediately. Its ears lifted sharply, and its head turned in Daniel's direction. Then their eyes met. For a moment, Daniel expected the animal to bolt away like most wild animals do when they sense a human. But it didn't move. Instead, the deer simply stood there, staring back at him. The stare felt powerful, almost challenging. Daniel couldn't help but laugh quietly to himself. In his mind, the deer seemed to be saying, "Who do you think you are, human, staring at me like that?" Daniel lowered his voice and whispered softly into the still air, "Because you're stunning." The strange calm between them. Something unexpected happened next. Instead of running away, the deer relaxed slightly. Its muscles loosened, and it tilted its head as if it were curious about the strange human standing in front of it. Daniel slowly lifted his camera, careful not to make sudden movements. Wild animals are incredibly sensitive to motion and noise. Even a small movement can scare them away. But this deer didn't panic. It simply watched him. There was a calmness in the air that Daniel had never experienced before. It felt like an unspoken agreement. He wouldn't get too close, and the deer would allow him to stay for a moment longer, witnessing true beauty. Standing there, Daniel realized something important. Wild animals carry a kind of beauty that cannot be recreated anywhere else. It isn't just about how they look. It's about the way they move, the way they remain alert and aware of their surroundings, the way they exist completely in the moment, guided by instinct rather than schedules or worries. Humans often rush through life, constantly distracted by responsibilities, phones, and deadlines. But this deer was fully present. And somehow, that presence made the moment feel almost sacred. The photo that almost didn't happen. Daniel carefully positioned his camera and gently pressed the shutter button. The soft click echoed through the quiet forest. He immediately worried that the sound might scare the deer away. But the animal barely reacted. It blinked once, shifted its weight slightly, and continued staring calmly in Daniel's direction. Daniel took another photo. And another. Each frame captured the same powerful image. A majestic creature standing tall in the golden morning light. But even as he took the photos, Daniel knew something important. The pictures were nice, but the real beauty was the moment itself. Respecting the distance, Daniel knew better than to move closer. Wild animals deserve respect and space. Approaching them too closely can cause stress or fear, and sometimes even danger. So he stayed exactly where he was. He simply observed the animal quietly. Moments like this are rare in the wild. Most animals vanish the moment they sense human presence. But this deer seemed to understand that Daniel wasn't a threat. It continued standing proudly, almost like a king surveying his forest kingdom. A moment of curiosity. After a few more seconds, the deer took a slow step forward. Daniel's heart skipped. Now the animal was even closer. It lowered its head slightly, sniffing the air as if trying to understand who this strange visitor was. For a moment, Daniel felt a strange connection. Two creatures from completely different worlds. One living by instinct in the wild. The other carrying cameras and technology. Yet somehow sharing the same quiet moment. The silent goodbye. Eventually, the deer seemed to lose interest. It lifted its head again, looked at Daniel one last time, and slowly turned away. Its powerful legs moved silently through the grass as it walked back toward the trees. Within seconds, the majestic animal disappeared into the forest. The entire encounter had lasted less than 2 minutes, but for Daniel, those 2 minutes felt timeless. He stood there quietly, still processing what had just happened. Why moments like this matter? In today's modern world, many people rarely experience moments like this. Cities are loud, life is fast, and most people spend their time surrounded by screens rather than nature. But the natural world still holds incredible beauty and wonder. Encounters like Daniel's remind us that we are not the only creatures on this planet. There are entire worlds of life happening quietly in forests, mountains, and oceans every single day. And sometimes, if we're lucky enough to slow down and pay attention, we get to witness them. The photo that became a memory. Later that day, Daniel returned home and uploaded the photos to his computer. The images were beautiful. The deer looked majestic in the golden morning light. But when Daniel looked at the photos, he realized something. The pictures captured the animal, but they couldn't fully capture the feeling of the moment. The silence of the forest, the stillness in the air, the quiet connection between two living beings sharing the same space. Those things existed only in memory. A lesson from the wild. That short encounter left Daniel with a simple but powerful reminder. Nature doesn't need to impress us. It simply exists, quietly and beautifully. And sometimes, when we slow down enough to notice it, we realize just how incredible the world around us really is. The deer didn't know it had given Daniel a story he would remember forever. But it did. Some people spend their entire lives searching for unforgettable experiences. But often, those moments arrive unexpectedly. A quiet walk. A sudden encounter. A silent stare between two completely different creatures. When Daniel remembers that morning, he always smiles and repeats the same words he whispered in the forest. Because you're stunning. And sometimes, that's the only explanation needed for the beauty of the natural world. If you enjoyed this story and want more powerful wildlife moments like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. There are many more incredible stories waiting to be told.